This will probably be the longest video throughout this entire thing. Now, this is a very simple 3-page slideshow that I've put together here. Again, this is very simple, but it's talking points, and you'll see how I elaborate on everything within. So as you can see, this is Research 101, the who, the what, and the why, as well as the explosion effect with niching down. So how do you niche down? The explosion effect that I use to enter multiple niches that, to see and test each and every one. So let's go ahead and start off with learning your demographics. This is going to be very important. I always sit here and say, create something you are passionate about and learn the process before you go on to niches that you know absolutely nothing about. Now, if someone asks me, hey, can you create me a book for knitting? I would have to personally ask them, hey, what are you looking for inside? I know absolutely nothing about knitting or crocheting. So for something along those lines, find people that you can ask. Learn who your demographic is. What is the average age of a person that knits and crochets? What are they trying to do? What do they need inside of the book? So what purpose does that book serve for them? So if we use knitting, for example, or crocheting, I know there's different patterns and weaves and different things you can do to make different designs within blankets and whatever you are actually trying to create. So what purpose does your book serve? Well, this can be a place that they can go in and get patterns and templates and take notes and kind of work on their projects. So what purpose does your book serve? If your book is not serving a purpose, then why are you creating it? I know that sounds very harsh, but your book should serve a purpose, whether it helps someone and it makes a task easier, it lets them keep track of things, it keeps them on schedule. Maybe it's a bookkeeping for small businesses or for taxes. What purpose does your book serve? Does it make them happy? Does it give them something to do? Is it an activity book with a purpose behind an activity book? So what purpose does your book serve here? You should have a purpose behind it, because you want people to actually use your book. And then books are, they are disposable products. Once a book is full, and if someone liked it, odds are they can come back and get another one, or maybe get volume 2 within your series. So what purpose does your book serve? You have to have one there. Who is your book for? So is it for kids? Is it for adult? I know in the 2020 keyword strategy, we talked about this a little bit, but who is your book actually for? Now, you can create a book for a wide variety of people, but you should have kind of a laser focused demographic. If we're creating a dinosaur coloring book like we did in that keyword video, then odds are that's going to be for younger kids. If you start getting more detailed, it can be for a little bit older kids, or if you go super good with your quality, super detailed with your coloring pages, then it could be for, teens, young adults, adults. So you have to know who your book is actually for. I probably would not make a crocheting book for a 4-year-old. Most 4-year-olds do not even know what crocheting is, or maybe they see someone doing it every once in a while, but I would probably not make a project planner for crocheting for a 4-year-old or a 5-year-old. It just would not make sense. So you have to understand who your book is actually for. If you start with a niche you are passionate about, think about the other people that are maybe in that career field, maybe enjoy that same hobby, maybe enjoy the same sport, whatever it might be. Who is your book actually for? Almost every single niche has a specific demographic, and that's what you want to try to figure out. Next up is, why are you selling the book? So the who, the what, and the why. So what is your book? Why are you selling it? How will they help them or entertain them? So if you throw together a lined book, so a composition notebook, what is the purpose of that book? Well, they need it for writing. Why are you selling it? Back to school is coming up. Okay. So, and then who is it for? Well, depending on your cover, it could be for young kids entering elementary school, primary school, or it could be for older young adults that are going into high school or college, university, as some places call it. So why are you selling the book? What is the purpose behind it? What are you going to do with this book to make them connect with it? That is the why. I know the purpose and the why are very similar, but you should always have the who, the what, and the why. So what are you selling? Who are you selling it to, and why are you selling it? What is the cause of the book? Are you going to help them with something? Are you going to make them smile? Are they going to have entertainment while they do an activity book during travel? Are they going on a car ride this summer across the US, going to see the Grand Canyon? Whatever it might be, well, they want some activity books to do in the car, and therefore that is your why. Why are you creating a Grand Canyon themed activity book for people that are, one, interested in the Grand Canyon, and then two, are also going to be, traveling there. So you have two purposes there, two whys there. And then who? Well, if it's for kids, then you're going to have, cuter, simple vector, simple puzzles, simple mazes. And then, if it's for adults, well, you're going to probably have some pretty hard trivia questions and things like that in there about the Grand Canyon. And there's a lot of different things you can do there, but you always want to make sure you are either helping them, making their life better, or connecting on an emotional level, whether it's entertainment, fun. It could be a gratitude book, and you're helping them release feelings. You're helping them, de-stress. And maybe it's for anxiety, and they're trying to take notes of their anxiety to try to find things that help or make it worse, and so they can kind of learn about them. So it doesn't just have to be coloring books. This is every single type of book. There has to be some type of purpose behind it. Okay, so next up then is the explosion effect. Now, I know this looks very, very simple, but let me explain. Up top, we have the main niche. So we could do nursing. I like to use nursing for this example. It's something a lot of people can understand, and it's easy for me to explain to you. So up top, we have the main niche, and then below that, you will see 3 sub niches. So what I like to do is I like to pick a niche, and let's say it is nursing. So that would be our main niche up here up top. And I'm actually going to exit this, and we will say and edit this together. So we would say nurse here. Okay, so we're going to make a book or a t-shirt, whatever it might be, for nurses. So we have nurse up top. Well, what are some of the sub niches of nurses? You could do something like NICU nurse. You could do something like pediatric nurse, and then you could do something, let's say, ER nurse. Okay, so all 3 of these people, and then nurse as a whole, all of these people have something very, very, particular they do. NICU nurses don't see things ER nurses do. ER nurses see a wide variety of things, from, gruesome injuries to sickness and illnesses and heart attacks. So there's a wide variety of things ER nurses see, compared to a NICU nurse that's neonatal, so premature babies, babies with some issues, and they're not going to see the same type of things that an ER nurse sees. So the difference in language that they speak, the difference in their everyday procedures are going to be completely different. That is why it is important to understand your demographic, understand their language, how they talk, and all of these things can start combining together. So when I'm researching, I like to try to publish about 5 to 10 books to start with in each of these. So I'd like to do 5 to 10 broad nursing books, and then I would like to do 5 to 10 for NICU, pediatric, and ER nurse for each one. So by the end of these 4 niches here, we would have anywhere between 20 and 40 designs up. Now, if this is something like coloring books, activity books, I won't go 5 or 10. I might do 2 or 3 for each one. And this will give me a good feeling and kind of test the waters and see, okay, where can I enter at? Where is things working? Where aren't things working? And this will allow you to stay focused within the same area, okay, and produce better content. So if you work on a nurse book, for example, and then the next thing you sit here and you're working on a baseball book, and then you jump over to motocross, and then you create a crocheting book. Well, your designs and your ideas are going to be all over the place. Your design elements from motocross to crocheting, and, the style of text and the way you're laying out your interiors and your covers, they're all going to be completely different. Okay, so when you work on similar niches, similar things all in a row, your style, your flow is going to be pretty similar. Now, a NICU nurse and a pediatric nurse, they're very closely related, but again, 2 different types of people. But how you lay out your cover, some of the graphics, your style, your interior, all of these things might stay very, very similar. So you'll kind of start creating a little bit quicker, and you'll kind of stay on page better as well. So I like to do this with a lot of niches, and it will allow you to test the markets, go into those markets, and do different things. Okay, so by doing this, you can test the different markets, try them out, and then come back later and say, okay, I did really good in NICU and pediatric, but I did not do good in ER at all. I wonder why. Or I did really good in the main niche, nurses, but when I niche down, I'm not doing good. Well, did you take into consideration search volumes? Did you take into consideration the competition? Did you take in, competing products? These are all different factors that you have to think about when you're entering a niche. And, maybe all of these are decent niches to enter, and you're like, okay, I want to enter these. This will allow you to test the market there. And by doing so, you can come back, 3 months later, 6 months later, and say, okay, I'm doing really, really well in the NICU nurse books, or shirts, whatever it might be. This can go for numerous things here. I'm going to add more to that because I now have data from my books. I can see my keywords I personally used in the back end. I can go look at Cerebro and BookBolt back end keywords. Maybe other new books are also doing well with you. You can get kind of some new ideas here. And then you can go back in there and you can keep doing well in those niches. You can be your own competitor. Okay, so it's not bad to be your own competitor here. So with that, this is kind of the basics of research. This is the thought process that goes behind every book I create. When I'm sitting down on Amazon doing research, these are the things that I am actually looking for. So is there area for, improvement here? What is my level of quality? Okay, if you look at, for example, Halloween activity books for kids or coloring books for kids versus Halloween coloring books for adults, well, the two styles are completely different. Kids' things are very basic, very, very simple, and you can actually sit there and probably draw a lot of those even as an entry level, illustrator or trying to draw and sketch for the first time, compared to all of the adult things are very, very detailed. So me, myself, I could enter without any VAs, any illustrators, I could enter the kids space. But I know if I want to compete in the adult space, I'm either going to have to get a lot better or I'm going to have to go hire a real illustrator, graphic designer that is really good at sketches just because the amount of detail. So that is something you have to take into consideration. Where is your skill level sitting? Okay, where is your skill level sitting? And say, can I even compete here? And if not, say, okay, what can I do to better myself to be able to compete there? Because you don't want to just be putting up mediocre designs all day, because mediocre designs usually don't sell. And if they do, they don't sell that well. So if you're seeing books and you're like, okay, I know I can't compete there, but why can't I? Try to find out that level of detail and say, okay, how did they do this with their cover? How did they do this with their interior? And try to actually learn how they did it, so then you can learn those steps. So now you aren't necessarily going out there and saying, okay, I'm going to recreate this interior exactly like I did, list it and use it for sale. No, just learn the process they went through to understand that. The last thing I want anyone to do is go out there and copy books and copy interiors. But if you're trying to learn how to do something, go copy someone and then delete it, just so you can understand how it all works, so you can improve your skills. So then when you are going on to, your book to create, you can say, oh yeah, I remember something as simple as adding a drop shadow behind a graphic. I know how to add outlines around my text. I know how to do gradients. I know how to split apart vectors and break things apart. I found a vector pack I really like, but it has 10 images on it, but I'm not sure how to break those 10 images on one image into singular pieces for a cover. Go learn those little steps and you're going to improve time and time again. There's still times that I will go to YouTube or I will ask someone who is an illustrator, like, hey, I found this image and I like the style, but I can't necessarily figure out how to get any of my images to be that style, or I can't figure out the steps they have gone through to get this end result. And they'll, a lot of times, either a YouTube video or an illustrator can quickly tell you how to do something. And that's one of the best ways to learn. You're not going to sit there and copy a interior and then go sell it. You're not going to do that. Please do not do that. But if you're learning and you're wanting to compete with this style or a certain level of quality, then that is one of the easiest ways to learn. Go look at books that you are never going to create in, okay? And then just try to go copy their interiors, create them, delete them, and because you're never going to, enter that niche. Like, I'm never probably going to make a knitting book, for example. So if I see a knitting interior though, and it's like, oh, that looks really good, I wonder how they got that layout, or I wonder how they did that, then I could go and try to recreate that on my own. Once I'm done, I will have learned a few things. I'll delete the interior and I won't upload it. It's one of the easiest ways to learn how to actually create new things. And then the more you research, you'll start seeing trends, you'll start seeing different phases within the books, and say, okay, these are the important things that I need to include within my book. These are the type of fonts that are doing well. These are the type of colors that are doing well. Do I need any graphics? So these are all different things that you want to think about before you create your books, and then as you are designing. Okay, so that's where we're going to wrap up this video here. I know it was a little bit of an open-minded conversation at the end here. But remember, we will be doing the 14-day challenge where you guys can ask as many questions as you would like. See us do all of these things live, live, or if you can't make it live, in the replay. So hopefully this kind of opens your minds to some new areas of research, some new strategies, some new things to think about while you're sitting there thinking, okay, what type of book should I create today? So if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to ask. I will see you in the next video.